Did you miss me? You can be honest. It's okay. No, you didn't miss me. But I'll tell you what I missed. I missed coming live with my opinions, my voice, everything I believe. That's what I missed. And I figured that there was no better time, ladies and gentlemen, to make my return to the podcasting world than here at Royal Rumble Night. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be back, and it is your pleasure to be listening to me. My name is Swerve, and if you have found your way here, that means you, yes, lucky you, are listening to the SwerveCast podcast, the show which I promise you will soon humble all of the jabronis out there in podcast world, whether they like it or not. I'm looking at you, Don Tony. There are a number of ways you can get in touch with the SwerveCast podcast. You can follow me on Twitter, ladies and gentlemen, at SwerveCityElite, as you can see in the top of your screen. You can also follow us on SoundCloud, SwerveCast podcast over there, ladies and gentlemen. You make sure that you subscribe to our official YouTube channel, which you should be watching on right now. And guys, no matter what you do, make sure you turn on notifications so you always know when the SwerveCast goes live. If you watched the show before the great absence between Survivor Series and now, good for you. But also, you'll notice that there are some changes to my format and everything going on. Part of the reason I had to take such a big time off was because, guys, I lost my whole computer. Now, when I say that, I didn't lose the actual physical machine. I know where my computer was. But back in October, Windows put out an anniversary update, which when my machine tried to install it, it botched. And I have been dealing with computer problems since then. For a while, it was functional. It was working, and I could at least get into it and do what I needed to do. But after a little while, it went down completely, and it was mostly useless for a good long time. For the time being, I seem to have fixed it. It has been a huge headache, but if it does indeed remain fixed, I will indeed remain right here with all of you, which I'm sure you're thrilled about. What are we going to talk about on the show today? We are going to get in big on the Royal Rumble, seeing how it is just a few hours away. We are also going to talk about Kevin Owens, because despite what the internet wrestling community, IWC, whatever you would like to dub yourselves, thinks of his title run, I may have some information that could lead you to enjoying it just a little bit more. We're also doing a bit of an experiment here today, and what I mean by that is you'll notice the graphic on the screen right now at the bottom. I've kind of wanted to get some other opinions on my show. Obviously, we've interviewed a good friend of the show, Brian Barrera, before, going back to the Survivor Series show. We wanted to talk about Goldberg, who we'll get into maybe some of that later on. But I want to get your thoughts as well. So what I did is I'm experimenting here, and I've created a Skype channel for the show. And what I would like you guys to do, if you're interested at any point in getting on the show and talking to me, is to go ahead and follow oh wow, I lost the word. Go ahead and follow the description below, and you'll see instructions on how to call me and get on the show. And if you agree with me, disagree with me, it doesn't matter. Just be prepared to defend yourself if you come on, because I'm pretty smart and I know what I'm talking about quite often, and you don't want to look stupid now, do you? So with that in mind, guys, the lines are open and will remain open for the entire length of the show. I just ask that you turn your cameras off if that isn't clear enough, and stay on topic. And that's all that I ask of anyone who may or may not drop in for a little chit chat. Also, final disclosure before we get going. Unfortunately, I am bitten by the sick bug. I'm currently experiencing a cold, so if I sniffle into the mic, feel free to berate and destroy me, as it were, verbally, and I will take that beating proudly because I would indeed deserve it. So, I don't feel like wasting any more time. I feel like talking about the Royal Rumble because I got quite a bit to say. We're not just going to go over the match. We're going to go over the card and some predictions and some guesses as well. So let's jump right in, guys. I want to start off with the rest of the card. We'll get to the regular match in just a second. Well, probably a little more than a second. But I want to start with the regular card because I think there are some things worth pointing out here. And I have in front of me the entire card for tonight's show. So let's take a look. We're going to see Cesaro and Sheamus take on the Club for the Raw Tag Team Championships. We'll get to that in a moment. The Cruiserweight Championship will be Rich Swann, I don't care, versus Neville. The Women's Championship will be Charlotte versus Bayley. I almost said the AJ Styles Championship, although the WWE Championship, AJ Styles versus John Cena. The Universal Championship, Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, which we're actually going to cover later. And finally, the Rumble match. And also, as I understand it, the pre-show will feature Sasha Banks and Nia Jax. If you want to talk about why that's on the pre-show, go ahead and Skype the show, and we can talk about that all you want. But you know what the truth is? I looked down this list here, okay, and you have, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you count the pre-show, 5. And I also, you know what? I think there's another another match here that's not listed is also Becky Lynch, Naomi, and Nikki Bella versus Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, and Natalya, which all the same, if you include the pre-show, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches for Raw and 2 matches for SmackDown. I'm not going to lie. I'm a pretty honest fan, and I'm a pretty decent fan too. I don't consider myself a mark. Some people might, and that's fine. You know, think of me as you will. You're wrong if you think anything other than great, though. I can't watch Raw anymore. I've tried many times. I try to watch Raw, but something's missing from Raw, isn't it? Doesn't it feel like something went missing from Raw? You look at SmackDown as a product, and I've had conversations with people about this. I do think Raw is tailored to be the show for the average fan, and I don't want to make anybody feel bad by saying it like that, but I do think Raw is tailored for the average fan, and I think SmackDown is tailored for the more marquee fan, the fan who knows what's going on, who wants storylines, who likes to keep up with the backstage stuff. And I think maybe that's why I don't care for Raw, because I'm not a casual viewer. I don't look at the Raw roster with any sort of excitement. There's not much going on Raw that is must see. There's a lot on Raw that doesn't feel important, or it doesn't feel like it's going to be special, or you can predict where it's going to go, or it's just borderline boring. They have 2 cruiserweight matches a night, and right now, whether or not you like it, the cruiserweight division is about as hot as snow. You've got a lot of women's action and a lot of good women's action, but also you're still suffering from the fact that a lot of these matches with Charlotte and Sasha happened just to happen. They didn't need to happen. And now you're dealing with the fact that you did a whole bunch of firsts, but the only thing you gained from it was that you did a whole bunch of firsts. You know, I said in a previous episode, which you can find full length on my official YouTube channel, and if it's not there, it will be soon, that the women's Hell in a Cell match with Charlotte and Sasha didn't need to be Hell in a Cell. There was no need for it. And the only reason that it happened was because it was at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. And when you start doing matches that are based around pay-per-view events, it's never going to work, because people are going to see it for what it is, which is you doing something for the sake of doing something. If you want to hear a whole analysis of that, go check out that episode. I'm not here to get into that. My sole point in bringing it up was mentioning now that I think you've done some damage to the interest level, not the credibility, the interest level of the women's division on Raw. Because if you flip it over and you look at the SmackDown women's division, I'm not so hot on the Nikki Bella Natalia thing, not because it's not a good idea, but I just don't like the lines they're being given and the method of execution. I don't blame them. But you look at something like the Mickie James re-debut a couple of nights ago, and if that's a spoiler, I'm sorry, but you should. This is wrestling. You should know it 3 days before it even happens, right? You look at something like that, which had a great concept behind it, that Mickie James is bitter about the fact that people are only pretending like women's wrestling became good now, when she was around back in the day, beating Trish Stratus, a 5-time champion. You know, that's actually like a very legitimate thing that real people get angry about, you know, and I respect that. And you look at the matches between Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch, and there was always a tinge of reality there. They kept it very, very real. They made them feel like people. And then you look at the Raw roster, the women on the Raw roster, and Charlotte's only concerned about her spotlight, and Sasha Banks is only concerned about petty insults. And it's the same kind of thing we've always seen from women, but with better matches attached to it. I'm still not a fan of the way they write Charlotte's personality on Raw. And it goes back to my critique on Survivor Series even, because I thought the way they organized the teams didn't make sense altogether. I thought the method of execution could have been better. I never understood Charlotte's motivations for even wanting to be part of the team. And there's a lot to be desired still from the women's roster on Raw. And don't get me wrong, as I've said on many previous episodes, I want the women's division to succeed. I want the women's division to be good. I want women in wrestling to be good. I don't want anyone anywhere saying women are just a bathroom break ever again. That was horrible. What I want is more from the writers who are giving the Raw women opportunities. The introduction of Bayley to Raw really helped, but I have a feeling it won't even be long before she's stuck behind bad promos. And I don't blame any of the performers, as I've said. My whole point in going off on this was because, not having watched Raw, I don't know the build-up for Charlotte and Bayley. Raw as a product has been so lackluster, not helped by any number of things, that I haven't even wanted to watch it. And so you have 5 Raw matches on this show, which I know for a fact you've had similar matches, if not the same match, for some of these on Raw. I'm pretty sure Cesaro and Sheamus already fought once on Raw for the titles. I'm pretty sure Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns have yet to go a week without fighting. I don't know if anybody cares about Rich Swann versus Neville, although I guess people are really getting behind Neville. I saw a bit of this heel turn business, and I don't really know one way or the other how I feel about it. I'm a purist for SmackDown. And so when I look at Cesaro and Sheamus, who I do love as a duo, although I think that even hasn't been handled as well as it could be handled, I look at that match with one of two options in mind. Either A, you're really going to get behind Sheamus and Cesaro. You're really, really, really going to look at those two and say, okay, this is my tag team. We're running with these guys to WrestleMania. Or option B, you have to give the club something because it's not too far until they are completely illegitimate. I mean, if they keep losing, you think about all the losing they did throughout the last calendar year. They keep losing and losing and losing. After a while, you can only handle so many losses to so many opponents before people don't look at you as any sort of threat. And the club is approaching that precipice very dangerously, because right now people already don't really care about the club, which is a shame, because they come from Bullet Club, which is one of the hottest things worldwide. That isn't even just a catchphrase. That's legit heat, baby. That's real stuff. People want Bullet Club. That's why there's so much hype on the possibility of Kenny Omega showing up tonight, but more on that later. I don't want to get too off topic. I've already done a spectacular job of that. What are your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? You've got to have opinions on this. The Club or Cesaro and Sheamus? If I'm doing it without having seen Raw, which I guess is kind of like running into a battlefield with no eyes, you've got to go with the Club. Cesaro and Sheamus, I think, are set to face off against each other at WrestleMania, which I would be fine with that match at WrestleMania. Cesaro and Sheamus would have a hell of a last man standing, 2 out of 3 falls, 3 stages of hell, whatever kind of match. If it was something like that, I would love to see that. That could kick off the show. I would hate to put it on pre-show, but it would even probably get attention there. So I don't know what your plans are for the Club long term. If they're getting transferred over to SmackDown, if they're going to get with Finn Balor or AJ Styles or whatever, but you got to figure it out. And if it doesn't involve the tag titles, it better involve something pretty legit pretty soon, or else you are going to be pretty dead in the water when it comes to those two. Rich Swann versus Neville should probably just be pre-show. Not because I don't want to see it, because, well, the cruiser, as I said earlier, the cruiserweight division, hot as snow. It just, nobody cares. I don't know what the viewership for 205 Live is. Somebody let me know. Tweet me, leave a comment at the bottom of this, whatever the case. Let me know what the viewership for 205 Live has been like so far, because I just can't see it being that good. And I know that's really like that's disappointing, because nobody wants the cruiserweights to fail, obviously. Nobody wants any wrestling to fail except for the cynical jerks who I don't want to talk to. But tell me straight out there, does anybody actually care about the cruiserweight division? And if so, does anybody care, and I mean really, about this Rick Swann, Adrian Neville, or Neville, whatever the hell match? Because right now, I'm probably going to use that match as my opportunity to make myself food. Charlotte versus Bayley, as a match with no storyline, will be good. We'll see just how good this will be, because, again, I don't even know what the build-up for this has been. I do not watch Raw. I don't even usually check highlights for Raw. I find it to be that bad, with the exception of a few people who we will talk about towards the end. The money match, though, the one that I think everybody is wanting to see more than any other match on the show, the match that might be a potential to steal the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. I actually wrote an article a few years ago before the 2015 Rumble about matches that stole the show away from the Royal Rumble that were not the Rumble match. And I would find it for you, but the website that published it, I don't know what they did with it. So I can't find it. Let me give you a quick bit of advice here, guys. Anytime you do any work or do any business, get it in writing. All right? Cool. So, AJ Styles, the WWE champion, versus John Cena. Why did I put Cena's name in the Georgian accent? Anyway. I remember firmly how good the other matches with these two were. I remember firmly how excited I was that AJ Styles actually brought out a character change in John Cena. And I think anybody out there with an actual brain who actually processes wrestling will tell you they don't hate John Cena. They don't hate the John Cena character. And it's all I remember that, all that stuff about I hate John Cena the character, not John Cena the person. It's none of that. None of that at all, actually. Anyone out there who understands will probably tell you that what they hate about John Cena is that he doesn't ever change. We hear it all the time, right? This is a business based on your ability to reinvent yourself. If you stay one character forever, you become stale. And yet, we have seen the same John Cena for about 11 years now. I would say about 2006, when he started to lose the edge and become more of a child star, up to today. It's about 11 years of the same character. That's what people don't like. People don't like that you see him coming down the ramp and it's like, oh, this shit again. I dare you, besides Hulk Hogan, because he does not count, because he is John Cena of a different generation. I want you to find me anyone from the list of the most successful, most popular, most overstars in WWE history, and you find one person on that list who went from career point A to career point Z and never redefined himself at all. Never flipped face to heel or heel to face, never tweaked his attire, and I'm not talking about a new shirt and a new hat. Never updated his personality, never found a new flaw to try to correct, never experienced a human emotion. I don't know how John Cena has survived this long. I know it's based on your merch sales. I don't know how he sold this much merch. And the reason I ask that is because either kids are that susceptible to the campaign ad, or I'm missing something about John Cena's character. Because I don't get it. What am I supposed to feel from John Cena's character? Because what I feel is myself being pulled out of the illusion. Wrestling's an illusion, right? I feel myself being pulled out of the illusion when I see John Cena, because my brain immediately goes, all right, well, here comes the carbon copy promo, and here comes he's going to hit the AA, but he won't hit it, and it'll be a counter, and then he'll stick it in out of nowhere. Whoa, that's not quite what I meant. He will nail the AA out of nowhere. God, I need a sound effect for that. That was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. Do I even still have a sound effect for that? I don't even know if I do because of my computer. Oh, no. Well, either way. Oh, God. I feel myself getting pulled out of the illusion because it stops being about the storyline and it starts being about, oh, here comes this again. We're going to deal with this again. So to get back to my original point, when AJ Styles and Cena wrestled at SummerSlam and they kicked out, AJ Styles did, of the AA, and you actually saw John Cena's face react as if to say, what the hell? I've never seen anyone kick out of that. What was that? And then AJ Styles went on to win. Do you know what a fresh feeling that was? To see John Cena look vulnerable? To see John Cena look like a human being? That's all we've ever wanted. That's the list. That's it. Just give us that and Cena will be over with even the markiest of marks. So you see the build-up for this, and AJ Styles comes out and cuts a generic promo, and I know his ability to cut promos are fantastic, but the promos he's been given, I'm not really a fan of almost any that I've heard from him in terms of, does this sound like AJ Styles? He cuts the most generic promos. You're just like everybody else, kid. You want to call me not a wrestler, but I show up day in and day out, and I do my thing, and I put suckers in the dirt, and you can't teach that, or whatever. Oh, God, if John Cena cut that promo, I might laugh a little bit. Do you get my point? It's the same story. And that's what I'm afraid of about this money match, okay? I'm afraid that they're going to do the wrong thing. I'm not talking about putting a 16th championship on John Cena, breaking Ric Flair's record. All of that is meaningless. It literally means nothing. You wouldn't even know Ric Flair was a 16-time champion if they didn't keep telling you that. It's a meaningless stat. It's a meaningless record. So, what the wrong thing would be to do would be to give John Cena a championship so he can face The Undertaker at the expense of AJ Styles. Because the whisper that I keep hearing is if AJ Styles loses the championship, he will be wrestling Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. Let me tell you about how much I don't ever want to see that. Half because Shane McMahon really is up there in age and is struggling to wrestle, and he's going to die if he keeps doing it. And I believe that with my heart of hearts. And B, because AJ Styles deserves to face someone with so much more ability. I'm not knocking Shane. But you tell me there's nobody else on that roster on SmackDown that deserves to wrestle AJ Styles as much as Shane McMahon. Now, I also don't really want to see AJ Styles wrestle The Undertaker. I guess my main takeaway from this is I really don't want to see The Undertaker wrestle at this point. But I have no choice. I have to enjoy what I'm told to enjoy by Vince McMahon, and so I will. Damn it. What are your thoughts? Taking the belt off of AJ Styles to put it on John Cena at the expense of John Cena, or at the expense of AJ Styles so they can do John Cena versus The Undertaker. Good move or bad move? I'm telling you right now, it's a bad move. You don't have to believe me, but I'm telling you straight, it's a bad move. Bad. All right. Now I want to move to the actual Rumble match. Am I seeing this right, that the Rumble is on right now? The pay-per-view started? What is this nonsense? Why is this starting at 6? Well, that's dumb. I didn't plan this out at all. Oh, boy. Well, we're going to cut this show short then. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you my Rumble predictions. We're cutting this short. I didn't know it started at 6. What kind of gobbledygook is this? Wow. I'm not prepared. It's been a long time and I'm sick. Give me a break. All right? Everybody gets one. Here's a list of the completed, verified list of guys who are in the Royal Rumble. The Undertaker, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, Big Show, Dean Ambrose, Miz, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Big E, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, Luke Harper, Mojo Rawley, Braun Strowman, Chris Jericho, Baron Corbin, Cesaro, Sheamus, Big Cass, and Rusev. That leaves 8 spots unannounced. I will be able to guarantee you, one of those unannounced spots is Samoa Joe from NXT. One of those unannounced spots is Finn Balor. I would bet half of my aortic valve that one of those spots is Finn Balor. And I know that they keep saying it won't be, it won't be, it won't be, it won't be, it won't be. I will bet the other half of my aortic valve that one of those spots is Kurt Angle. And I tell you this now, a grown man does not cry for much. But if Kurt Angle pops on the Rumble, I will sit there in tears of happiness. A, because Kurt Angle is my favorite wrestler of all time. And B, because Kurt Angle is from where I'm from. So I have a proximity bias, if you will. And I'm also still bitter that he didn't return in 2014 when I was there. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, picks to win the Royal Rumble. I'm going to give you 3 of my top choices, not people who I want to win, people who I think will win, and I'm going to give you a dark horse. If you made me choose who's going to win based on how WWE does its business, I would say this. My top choice is The Undertaker, because for whatever reason, we insist on making this guy wrestle until he is literally a dead man. I have a feeling The Undertaker has a good chance to win this thing. You know what? I'm looking at a graphic right now on CagesideSeats.com for the full list of confirmed entrants to the Royal Rumble. Randy Orton has a giraffe neck in this photo, and so does Dolph Ziggler. Who photoshopped this? This is terrible. Randy Orton looks like a giraffe. Anyway, my second choice would be Goldberg, because the same thing. We're too reliant on guys who are from a past generation. We don't trust the talent we have today or that we've been building up. And that's going to come back to bite us. Of that, I can promise you. I can promise you. And my third choice. The only salvation the new talent has is Finn Balor. They were ready to give him the top push before he even had time to settle in on Raw, so I see no reason as to why they wouldn't be willing to give him the Royal Rumble to jettison him into the main event to face Kevin Owens or Goldberg or God, whatever. As for my dark horse prediction, I'm actually going to give you two dark horses, one for Raw and one for SmackDown. For SmackDown, if they are not going with Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt, if they are not going to do that, if Randy Orton is going to stay true to Bray Wyatt, it's a big if, but if SmackDown taught me anything, it's that could very well be the case. Then my dark horse is actually not Randy Orton. It's Bray Wyatt. Now, why would I say that? Well, because if Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton are going to ride this wave of momentum all the way to WrestleMania, AJ Styles and Bray Wyatt could be a great match, especially with Randy Orton being the wild card in the Factor. Also, I'm a bit of a Bray Wyatt mark, so I just want it to happen. So suck it! Suck it! As for Raw, what if Samoa Joe won the whole thing? I know that when he gets called up, he is supposed to have a huge push right off the bat, so wouldn't it be interesting if straight up Samoa Joe won the Royal Rumble and challenged Kevin Owens? I'll tell you what, I would want to see that. Or even if Samoa Joe went to SmackDown and challenged AJ Styles, that would also be I was going to say phenomenal, but I think I would hurt myself after the fact if I did. What are your thoughts, guys? Dark horses, predictions, no spoilers. Let me know on Twitter at SwerveCityElite what your thoughts are. Who's winning the Royal Rumble tonight, guys? I want to know. You want to know. Let's find out together. Now, I said we're going to cut the show short. I apologize to you profusely. But when you're not prepared, things like this happen. So, my bad, everybody. My bad. Well, that's gonna do it. I apologize again profusely for my screw up with the schedule. But I hope you will join me next time when we will see just how right I really was. I'll give you a hint. The answer is I was very right. So suck it. I'm Swerve. It's been wonderful. Now get out.